Welcome to Meeting the Inconceivable, a podcast exploring Zen koans, dreams, and the creative life produced by Pacific Zen Institute. Pacific Zen has a legacy of preserving and reimagining the koan tradition to meet our own times. With a lively community of artists, innovators, and seekers of all kinds that extends worldwide, our mission is to create a culture of transformation through meditation, koans, the arts, and conversations about the deepest matters. In this episode, Roshi John Tarrant encourages listeners that you can tell you're onto something in your practice if you can watch a bird and suddenly feel its wings in your shoulders. The gap between us and the universe begins to close as meditation deepens, and we feel inextricably connected, which is nice to notice in times of panic and difficulty. Meditation is not something you do, says Tarrant, but something you open yourself to. We have to let life have us and instruct us, and eventually, it's inevitable we'll find that inside even worry, there's silence and space.
So welcome. It's happening now. Where is it happening? Right here. So this morning, the verse that comes to my mind is an old one. It goes, spring comes with the flowers, autumn with the moon, summer with breezes, winter with snow. When useless things don't stick in our minds, that's the best season. So meditations are kind of a time for us to just feel our way into the gaps between things, and the gaps are always there. There's always a spaciousness in every moment, but we're always running on to the next moment and we just don't notice the space. And we could say that space has always been there and we're always aware of. Children are kind of aware of it, actually, but we have to grow out of it and forget so that we can remember again, so on. The drama of being human. So the meditation is a matter of like resting in what's already there and not rushing on to the next moment. So it's like that. So let's just sit for a second here. And the other thing about meditation is, in a minute we'll start meditating. We could say we're already meditating, but in a minute we'll start meditating, and I'll give you a koan. And the thing about koan meditation is you don't have to be good at it because it's before being good at things or bad at things, which is kind of that's kind of nice. It's one of the few things in life you can't do wrong. So good to know, good to have that in your life. And because in a way, what we're doing is we're not doing it. It's like the universe is coming through us, the deeper part of everything, the deeper part of us, the deeper part of life is holding it for us. And so all you have to do in terms of method with the koan is just hang out with the koan. And then your mind will come up and start saying, you're not doing it right, or the koan's not right, or something's not right, or what about what I'm afraid of, or what about what I hope for? And then you just go back to the koan. So it's kind of that simple. And then you'll notice that you don't have to use any devices you don't have to change anything in any way about your mind. You can trust whatever's in your mind, and because it won't be there long anyway. So, and we know that. And so you can sort of enjoy that, and so in that sense, whatever comes up, we could say you have compassion for, but we could also say that there's a welcoming attitude towards it. And you don't try to change what's in your mind because it's the koan's business, And so just hang out with the instruction and the feeling for the koan. Okay. So, yeah, with that, let's enjoy ourselves, okay? As the sound of the bell dies away, perhaps your idea of who you are dies away too. And the thoughts die away. And even if they don't die away, it's not important that the thoughts disappear in your mind. If they don't die away, you're just not identified with them. You're not identified with understanding what's the right way and how to be clear and how to be at peace. And then suddenly you're already at peace. So, so here's a koan for you from the ancient koan curriculum. It's just the moment of ease. And it just goes, freely I watch the tracks of the flying birds. Lazily, easily, I watch the tracks of the flying birds. So just let the image come into your heart and you feel what you feel, you know. Just let it, and then something appears, and that's good. And then something else will appear, and the image will keep deepening in your experience of watching the tracks of the birds. So freely, I watch the tracks of the flying bird. Just enjoy becoming one with those birds. And no matter what comes up, the thing is not to criticize yourself, not to find fault with this moment, because this moment is the whole of life that we have right now. So we may as well relax with it. And if you can't relax when you're meditating, when can you relax? So don't be picky. Whatever you get, it's good enough. And there's joy in it. So just whatever you get, just have it. And if you can't stop criticizing what's coming up or yourself or worrying or whatever it is, then don't criticize that. Compassion enters somewhere. The good-hearted, open-hearted quality will enter somewhere. So freely I watch the tracks of the flying birds. Freely I watch the tracks of the flying birds. So you let the meditation come to you and fill your heart, and it comes out of your own heart and fills the world. Watching the tracks of the flying birds. Well, good. Meditation. Someone said it can't be explained. It can't be praised enough. And I think that's Jordan McConnell in Canada. Thank you very much. Marvelous. Say something, Jordan. Say hello so people see your face. I will have to take you off mute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, 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 good. Thank you.
Cool. Sorry if that surprised some people, but that was fun.
That was meant to surprise people.
Okay.
Thank you. Good. Jordan plays with us at retreats sometimes. So, and you can tell how, oh, it can come from music, it can come from silence, it can come from the sight of somebody's eyes, it can come, there's no way that doesn't have it. But to have music and have beauty is a good thing. So there's that. And I like this particular koan because it's not trying to preach anything, it's just an image. And so it goes down to the deepest part of the heart. And the saying I quoted, it comes out of your own heart and covers the world, is true for me with this koan. And you can tell you're onto something if you watch a bird and suddenly you feel its wings in your shoulders, and then you feel like, oh, I'm not as different from that bird as I thought I was. And that's part of the mystery of life, is that we're all in it and all together. That's one of the good things to remember in time of panic and difficulty, that we still have that. We still have this marvelous connection to all things. And I noticed a couple of days ago, I was meditating and I was and I was noticing how my mind's getting to be, it's like it's a retreat we're in. Some of us are working pretty hard, and some of us are risking our lives in hospitals and places, or even delivering packages, really. But we've been opening Zoom meditations pretty much most nights of the week, and most days of the week. And I've noticed I've just been going along and taking the ride, which is great for me. Yeah. So when other people are teaching, and I've noticed how it sort of saturates us. And the thing about meditation is, it's not something you do; it's something you open yourself to, and you're in a vessel, and the vessel changes. All these things happen in the vessel: heat and steam, and boredom, and love and loathing, and trivial thoughts and wonderings and dread and terror. And in some way, all of that makes a human being at the time, and it gets sort of cooked or heated, or the old alchemical metaphor, that's all in a kind of retort, or a vessel that's being heated. And the meditation just allows it all to be there and work itself out. And so life works itself out for us. And it's a way of, then we realize, oh, we have to trust our life. We have to trust the life we have. And, that we have to be in and let the life we have instruct us. That the great German poet Rainer Maria Rilke said, life is always right. And it's annoying but true. So, so, and because it's our life and we don't have any other life or any other moment. And if we really look, we know how to do it. It's endlessly unfolding in us, and we know how to respond, and 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 we don't have to think about it too much. It's just here. So there's that part of the koan work, the aspect, and the other really important part, just to repeat, is that when you really surrender to the moment, when you just let the moment have you and carry you, and then you notice that it widens, and things are, even if you're really worried, inside that worry there's a silence and a space, and there's music, and there's whatever it is. There's the light on Finch's wings, there's the light in the raindrops on the tree, there's the light of reflection in a window. There's any little piece of the world is an awakening of the heart. Any little piece of the world contains everything we've always wanted and needed and loved. And so then what happens is fine. I asked Jordan to play because I thought it'd be a gift, and there's something nice about it's an ancient koan tradition to play music sometimes during retreat, and it's come down to us from Japan and China, and I thought it'd be lovely for everyone, but then it's actually lovely for me, and I found I had tears, and it's good. So I thought it was for you, but it was for me as well. So I kind of like it's kind of nice about that, nice the way that works. So and then you notice the other thing the mind does when I meditate, I notice sometimes it keeps offering things to worry about, or keep offering things, ways I should help, things I can dread, things I dislike and disapprove of, you know? And you notice that in a certain way, when you're just sitting there and you have the koan freely, I watch the tracks of the flying birds, and you feel the wings in the air, and just the vastness of the sky, and the vastness that's inside you and in the world. Then you realize that those worries and the plans, and they'll sort themselves out. And if they're real, no doubt you'll respond to them, and some method will work itself out to deal with them. But also, if they're not real, it doesn't matter, you know. And either way, we can treat them. They're like as if we're walking along in a forest path, and creatures rustle, and things jump out, and demons come and say boo. But that's all right. Demons are just demons. And you're just, as long as you're walking the forest path and you have your koan, you're okay. You have that magic power. And it's just part of the journey, the things that jump out, and they're particular to you, and they're particular to your culture. Right now, there's a lot of dread and fear in things, and it's sort of coming out of the walls. Even if you yourself I have friends who say, "I'm not worried," and then I just fought with my girlfriend. Maybe you are worried. She went over and a half. She may have been right. So it's that kind of thing. We may not even know what's working in us, and we just got to trust us and try to be kind with it. And so whatever comes up in us is also from the time. It's not just a personal thing. And so that sort of worry. But it's important not to believe, not to think that what we're thinking is us. There's a deeper part of us that's in the silence that's always been there from the beginning. All through our evolution as creatures, there's been a silence. And the silence is between words, and it's in the moment, and you can just always feel it. So if we just stop, like just for a second right now, and so the silence, it's here inside the bell, and it's in the silences between, the quiet between the bell sounds. And it embraces us all. And you can't describe it. So the old teachers, they use different words for it. One of them was emptiness, because it's got no flavor or taste, but it holds everything, and it shines, and it's beautiful. And through that, we love each other and love the world. So that's the other thing to say, I think, that we'll notice that when we're not listening to the demon voices and the things coming at us, you know, all the time from the mind, and coming out of the walls or coming out of the news, or not listening to the panic, then we're held. And that then we won't object to being in the time we're in. It's kind of every time has its own difficulty and crisis. And this is ours. And so we kind of think somebody else should have this time. It's for us, you know. And And we can trust that. We can trust our own lives that brought us here, and perhaps we have something to do here, you know. And we don't know what that is, but we'll find as we keep walking. And the thing about the meditation path is I don't have to like think a lot about what's mine to do. You just give yourself to the meditation. It's produced for you. It's given to you. The path opens by itself. There's an old poem that goes, "The peach trees without words make a path," like that. So there's that quality about things, and there's the other quality about death. In the Buddha story, death was kind of the thing that was hidden. The Buddha story is kind of, probably most people know it, but if you don't, it's an interesting story because unlike the great Greek stories like Odysseus, Ulysses was trying to get home from war, which he didn't want to go to in the first place. But he was sort of trying to bring his ships and his people home and, accumulate loot on the way if possible. But he was trying to get home and he just couldn't. And what he longed for was his house and his child and his wife and his world. His a good meal and a glass of wine at the end of the day. So he wanted the simple kind of thing, the smell of the olive trees of his native land. So that's what he wanted. But the Buddha story starts there, where the Buddha has everything, and what's hidden from him is the knowledge of suffering. And so the big secret in life, the big liberating secret, is that we suffer. And everybody has to come to their own terms with that, and because we can also say that once you accept that, and accept that the body is uncomfortable, we die, things like that, you'll find it's not frightening. And in what fact, it kind of is, and we worry and about things and each other because we love each other. But we know we can't control all that. So the worrying is just part of the loving then. It's not something that I don't need to get you to behave differently or me to behave differently. We can just trust the unfolding of it all. And so once we accept that, oh, we're going to die, then there's, how will I do it? I don't have to know that. Probably I'll know how to do it the way a child knows how to walk. And most of the things about dying, we've already done. Have you passed out? Have you ever passed out? Well, every night when I go to sleep, Have you ever felt pain that you didn't want to continue? Yes. Have you ever been short of breath? Yes. Have you ever had a fever? Yes. So there's one of those things, and have you ever recovered from a fever? Yes. So there's one of those things that we'll know how to do when it comes, and wondering about how to do it is not really super important. Or if we'll be able to do it is just another one of those demon things, and so that's what the koan is for. Freely, I watch the tracks of the flying birds, you know, and then actually it's pretty good. There's nothing really to do, as the great teacher said. Linji was that teacher's name, great master, founder of the koan tradition, said, "I'm just someone with nothing to do." So the whole of life is it's here right now. And when I look at your faces, one of the nice things about Zoom is I can see your faces, and so that each of these stars appearing, and also we can see each other. So it's a nice thing about you can meditate with your eyes open and you see the beautiful faces, and you realize that all the faces are beautiful when you meditate. There's no face that isn't beautiful. Isn't that grand? Like all the time we worry about whether we're appealing or attractive, but we realize, oh, it's here right now, and if they have that, you must have that. Even your hand, yeah, has that, your cheeks have that. Yeah. So, and the marks of life on your face are beautiful. the marks of life in your heart, which means your sorrows, and as well as your joys, and that we don't say no to anything. There's nothing in our life we have to refuse, because here we are, and to refuse anything in our life is to refuse to be here right now. And it ain't so bad being here, looking at your faces, meditating together, music in the silence. It could be worse. So I for a while I knew this woman I really liked, who was she was wore Tibetan robes, and she was a Westerner, but she was a Tibetan nun, and she was kind of had a lively spirit of fun about her, and was really one of those people who's a wanderer and just wanders through life. And so she wandered in through my meditation world at some stage, and then wandered out again. But she was once she was talking about this famous mad genius Tibetan meditation teacher, Rinpoche, and she once said, "Oh, well, I was his driver for a long time." And I said, "Oh, well, did you ask him questions?" And she said, "No, I didn't. I didn't." And I said, "Okay. Sometimes we don't have any questions. And I said, "Well, did you talk to him?" And she said, "Sometimes." And she said, and I said, "Well, what what do you remember that was notable?" And she said, "Every now and again, he knew I was working. He could tell I was working really hard to be a good meditator and practitioner and serve well and improve the world. And every now and again, he'd pat my shoulder and say, 'Enjoy yourself.'" So, so, so that's what we can do together, and that's what we do when we're meditating. We enjoy ourselves. And because there's nothing needed to enjoy ourselves, we just hear, and the here-ness carries everything. Here-ness is beauty, and it's music, and there's everything we wanted when we came into this, when we were born. It's in the here of things. So what do I want there? And so what I'd like to do now, I think, I'd like to sit again just a little bit more. Okay, think you'll survive? Just nod if you think. If you disapprove, that's okay too. So we'll sit a bit more. And again, listening to the sound of the bell go through your body and your heart, and notice how you are the bell, and the bell is you, just like the birds, just like the faces you see. Freely I watch the tracks of the flying birds. And here's another koan, just so might help the mind understand. It's the same koan, really. And it goes, "The great way," the teacher said, "the great way is not difficult. It just avoids picking and choosing." Yeah. Great way is not difficult. It just avoids picking and choosing. Freely I watch the tracks of flying birds. And you can feel the wings and the way opening. The great way is not difficult, this teacher said, and he was quoting another old poem. But the great way is not difficult, it just avoids picking and choosing. And then he said something interesting. He said, "But as soon as I say that, your mind will think, but isn't that picking and choosing?" Or, "Wow, that's clear." And then he said, so you see, so the mind just starts this and that. Isn't that picking and choosing itself? Or, "Wow, that's clear." And then he said, "But I don't identify with clarity. Do you have the courage to live like this? Great way is not difficult. It just avoids picking and choosing." But as soon as I say that, you might think, the mind just thinks on its own. You might think, "Isn't that picking and choosing?" or that's very clear. But I don't identify with clarity. Do you have the courage to live like this? So there are so many things we can't know and don't know, and so many explanations. And, will a cure come? Who will get sick? Will I get sick? Will those I love get sick? And it can't be clear. And even if we want it to be clear, then we can be at peace with the wanting, and we don't pick and choose about that. It's all right. We're here in this beautiful moment, full of poignancy and darkness and light and sorrow and joy, music and silence. Freely I watch the tracks of the flying bird. I would kind of like to hear from some people, but I'm just going to call on some people in a rather arbitrary kind of way to speak. I'll start with Alison. I don't know if I think you're on the call somewhere. Alison Atwell, Roshi.
Well, one thing I was very struck when you said the silence between words. That became the whole of the koan for me. And it's raining up here in Northern California, and the silence between the raindrops. There's skylights in the room I'm in, and I can hear the rain falling on them. And I'm very struck during this period in the quality of silence, the way it seems to not be the absence of sound. It seems to be a sound itself, like the sound of the original silence before the universe was born. And whenever I feel that silence, like when you said the silence between words or between the raindrops, it's also my original silence. What a beautiful thing to feel during this time. That's it.
Great, thanks. John Joseph, I know you're out there, another Roshi. Do you have anything to say?
Just lovely. I was sitting before the call started, and then got on the call and sitting again. It's continuity. But listening to Jordan's guitar, I just felt I diving into that river, into a river, and just through the clear water, and I was just swimming through his music, and there was a fish, and here was a stone, and there was a coronavirus, and everything swimming through that river that runs through it, that runs through all of us. It's just really, really beautiful, touching.
Thanks, John. And Dave Weinstein's camera is not working, but I notice he's on the call. There's another Roshi. Would you like to? Who's also another person doing our teachings this week? Do you want to say anything, David?
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, Jordan's music, wow. And when Jordan started playing music, wow, because it highlighted something I've been noticing, which was the first thing that came to my mind was wrong. He's supposed to be muted. What is he doing? How is this happening? All those things went through my mind. And then, then something kicked in and rationality kicked in and I could relax into the music. But it reminded me of how my fear that I'm not in touch with, particularly about the virus and the situation in my body, I don't notice it, but I do notice that I'm making myself and others wrong a lot. It feels very young and like a child who just doesn't want to do what they're being told, and it's because they feel they're not loved somehow. Very young kind of feeling. It's interesting. I've been experimenting with the way I feel uncomfortable sitting in front of a screen with 20-something faces looking at me, multiplied by 5, and noticing how on page 5 there aren't any faces, and flicking back and forth between page 4 and page 5 and trying to notice what is it that feels different, because I don't like page 5 either. I don't like the page that's just names. I feel like I want to know what the faces look like. Then I see the faces and I feel something in the pit of my stomach that makes me want to go run and hide, kind of. I'm noticing how I have the conflicting impulses to come here now and feel connected to all of you folks, which feels great and challenging, and to yearn for the connection with the smaller group that I'm part of on a regular basis, where there are people peppered through this 5-page mosaic who are members of that smaller group, and I'm missing the more intimate contact with them, and look forward to that perhaps later today. Jordan's music carried me like those birds that were flying through the sky of the koan. But when the music stopped, that's when I started flying myself, and I noticed there was more freedom in the silence. Interesting. I loved the music, and yet in the silence, I was soaring. I noticed that.
Thanks, David. Sarah Benda, the Roshi from Colorado, is also on the course. Do you have anything to say, Sarah?
Thank you. First of all, I sat with a feeling of gratitude, of this being so much what helps, and noticing that one thing that came up for me was a feeling of water running through me, of a kind of like a waterfall coming through. The way that just sitting with everything as it is can be like that for me. And so I thought, well, maybe it's just that the birds are flying through me and it feels like water. So that was there. And I noticed as Jordan was playing also how the music can connect me with old memories that are very comforting right now. And I was remembering kneeling on the couch, looking back into the woods with my little brother when we were probably, like 5 and 3, when a storm would come and the creek down in the woods would overflow its banks. And just kneeling there watching the creek overflow its banks. So just noticing how odd it is what can appear in this space of the meditation. That's it for me.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah's going to be teaching this Friday. Time to be announced. Look out for it. It's a new gig. Tess, who's going to be teaching on Tuesday, I believe. Tess Beasley.
I think first, John, just to say thank you for the love that you're poured into this room. Something I've been noticing that's kind of a refrain in my mind is the thing that we say so many times when we do a refuge ceremony with all the precepts, that things are mysterious and hard to see. And this feeling of kind of drifting farther and farther away from shore of whatever was before, and kind of this feeling of being together in this thing that we have no idea where it's going, which is always true, but there's this, that's just been a feeling that's been very strong in me. And also the thing that you said during the fires, which was the little magpie who's doing what she can. And I sort of feel like I've noticed I've also been someone who things feel a little bit almost more like retreat now. And I think, oh, that's so, I feel lucky. But I notice the people I come into contact with who are on the front lines, or the people who, my mom called me this morning who's going through a radical change in her life, and they're canceling all the flights, and she's trying to get to her new home all the way across the country. And she was just hysterical because she didn't what do I do? How do I change? What if there are no flights? And I could tell whatever space I've been tending, whatever silence we've been tending became available to her in a way that was touching for me, because it sort of felt like, oh, for a second, anybody gets to be part of what we're doing when we tend it and make it available. So thank you, John, for making it so available to us. And I just feel touched to be here. So thanks.
Thank you, Tess. Tuesday for Tess. John Joseph's teaching Monday. I think these guys are great and you should hear them all. Alice's teaching alternate Tuesdays with Tess, Sarah on Friday. Okay.
I wanted to plant something for anybody who might be, well, for anybody, and that is about dreams. The dreams that are appearing, that people are speaking, are incredibly beautiful and so much a vehicle for, well, they're so much like the birds, the tracks of birds in the sky. So I'm going to be inviting dreams in on Friday. So welcome your dreams and write them down.
That's great. Yeah, I think one of the things that the tracks of the flying birds, it's an image, and it's one of this great, profound, ancient kind of, it's like a poem in our hearts. And so those things will help us through, there is that. So I'm just going to sit a tiny bit more, and we're going to go out with the 4 vowels, and one person's going to sing and give us some music too. So I'll just sit some more and then hit a bell. Freely I watch the tracks of the flying birds.
The 4 boundless vows.
Thank you, Amaryllis. And Amaryllis, could you just recite them through once for us so we hear the words?
I vow to wake all the beings of the world. I vow to set endless heartache to rest. I vow to walk through every wisdom gate. I vow to live the great Buddha way.
Well, thank you, everyone. Amaryllis in Denver and everyone else. We're all over the world, and we can come together like this, and it touches my heart and see the beauty in everyone's faces and in the silence. Thank you.
To support these episodes or learn more about upcoming programs and retreats at Pacific Zen Institute, visit us at pacificzen.org. You'll find details on John Tarrant's Sunday talks, our Open Temple morning meditation, and our Zen Luminaries series featuring intimate conversations with scholars, poets, and teachers of Koan Zen. Thanks for listening.